Thanks for joining us, and welcome to another TweakTown weekly podcast. We're going to be covering games in this podcast, and the last couple of days have been pretty eventful in the gaming world. We're going to start off with EA, or Electronic Arts, talking about Battlefield 4, where during an interview with Rock Paper Shotgun, EA's Chief Creative Officer, Rick Hillman, talked about the launches of both Battlefield 4 and SimCity. As you've probably seen, maybe heard, or maybe even probably experienced, SimCity and Battlefield 4 launches have been pretty, I don't even know if there's a word for it, pretty disgusting and bad considering how much you pay for games. So where he was talking to the publication and said the Battlefield 4 has been an exceedingly successful product on both consoles and PCs from both a sales perspective and from a gameplay perspective. Now, considering the Battlefield 4, the game is great. I love it. I haven't spent a lot of time, but I've probably spent more than 50 hours on it in the last couple of months since it's been released. I love it. But it does have its fair share of problems. Performance, multi-GPU, multi-monitor stuff is usually pretty good, which is strange. Normally that's the stuff that's broken. But it's the gameplay side. I find I'm based in Australia, and if I play a 48 or 64 player server, it's just rubber banding all the time when it shouldn't be. If you're going to be giving people the option to play 64 players, then it should just work. But obviously it doesn't. But it's just interesting to see EA coming out and saying that it's been a successful product, and probably to them it has. You know, they've made a lot of money from it, so from a business perspective, it's very good, and from a gameplay perspective, the game is good, but it is a broken, or at least not a final game. It feels like it's only just coming out of a beta or an alpha form. You might have heard about Flappy Bird. You might have been playing it. You might have been obsessed about it for a couple of days, or a couple of weeks. We reported that the creator of the game actually removed it from the Apple iTunes App Store and the Google Play Store. He tweeted, quote unquote, "I am sorry, Flappy Bird users. 22 hours from now, I will take Flappy Bird down. I cannot take this anymore." So the attention that he was getting was pretty big. And he said that it wasn't due to legal issues, even though the game does look very much like a Mario game. But he obviously is paranoid or doesn't like all the attention, because it would be huge. You're getting thousands of people maybe giving you a rating on the stores, emailing you or retweeting you or posting your Facebook page. But he was making a big amount of money. He was making about $50,000 a day in advertising. So for him to have taken it down, it's actually pretty weird for him to have done that. I can tell you this much: if I was making $50,000 a day, I would continue to make $50,000 a day for as long as I could. I wouldn't be taking it down. We don't know why. People are reporting to say that they know why, but unless it's from him direct, it's hard to gauge what it'll all be about. So we're just going to move on. So next up, you might have heard of a game from the makers of Halo called Destiny. Activision is the studio, is the publishing arm of Destiny, and they're going to be pushing it out sometime this year on next-gen consoles. But the company behind it says that it could be the next billion-dollar franchise. So that was from Activision's CEO Bobby Kotick. He thinks that, so he said, quote unquote, "We expect Bungie's Destiny," and again, Bungie is the maker of Halo, an innovative shared world first-person action game to be Activision Publishing's next billion-dollar franchise. As we look to 2014 and beyond, we have the strongest and most diverse pipeline of games in our history. It does look good, but this is just me talking. I think it's just going to be just another first-person shooter that's not going to be that exciting unless it delivers something completely outside of the norm of a first-person shooter. If I'm just going to be walking from A to B and I'm going to be, getting a key, or I have to go talk to a specific person, like that to me is standard. I don't know if I'm excited. Maybe I've been playing games for so long that they will just feel the same to me. Maybe you're the same. Titanfall, another first-person shooter, another next proper next generation first-person shooter. This time from Respawn Entertainment. So two of the heads from the original Call of Duty studio, Infinity Ward, that are also owned by Activision. The guys that are doing, going to be doing Destiny. Titanfall has just gone into beta. This happened just a couple of hours ago, or yesterday in my time. You can register for the Titanfall beta. You're not going to be guaranteed to get in, but if you do get in, you'll be emailed by EA direct, and that will let you know how you can get into the beta. If you do get into the beta, let us know. Let us know what it's like. I'm hoping that I get in just to have a look. But I've heard that there's no servers, no local servers for me in Australia for Titanfall, which I think is pathetic, but I'm used to that being in Australia. Another Activision story. Activision is pretty big with their first-person shooters, mainly because they probably lost Guitar Hero and stuff. They're not selling very well anymore. Activision now has three full studios working on Call of Duty. So we've already got Infinity Ward and Treyarch, which do yearly releases of Call of Duty. But now Sledgehammer Games, who have helped out previously, Sledgehammer Games are going to be working on a third series at the same time. So we'll see a game from Infinity Ward, then the year after, probably this year, we'll see a game from Infinity Ward, and then Treyarch, and then Sledgehammer, and so on. It's not big world-breaking news that Activision has three studios working on it when the amount of money that Call of Duty makes on it, but it's just interesting to see Call of Duty is that big that it commands three entire studios to be working on it at the same time. That should be surprising to most people. Speaking of another big game, Diablo 3, a couple of days ago, reached over 15 million sales, which is a huge number for a game like that. This came through Activision, through their latest financial report. The report also stated that 2013 ended with 7.8 million World of Warcraft subscribers, which makes the game continue to be the most popular subscription-based MMORPG. And for Diablo 3, if you're a Diablo 3 fan, the first expansion, which is called Reaper of Souls, that comes out next month, which is March, so it's not too long away at all. EA actually came out in the last couple of hours and have teased another NBA Jam game or sequel. Now, NBA Jam was something that came out, decades ago now, and it made a return back in 2010 on the Nintendo Wii, and it eventually hit the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 at the time. The year after, in 2011, an enhanced downloadable version was released, which was called NBA Jam On Fire Edition. This version of the game actually had gameplay improvements and new features built into it, but we have no idea or any details on the new version of NBA Jam. We don't know if it's going to be the same with better graphics, or maybe full HD graphics, or 60 FPS, or completely next generation gameplay, or next kind of like a change in gameplay from the old NBA Jam. We don't know yet at all. Hopefully we'll hear some more details in the next couple of weeks. Obviously we've heard about it this early on, which is good. Keeping with the EA news, we reported nearly 2 weeks ago something really interesting, that there was a new Battlefield title coming out this year, which people kind of expected, but most people expected to see like a continuation of Battlefield 4 from DICE. But this rumor is that Visceral Games is actually working on a new Battlefield game, and it'll be police themed. Now, Visceral Games, if you haven't heard from them, they're the team that have worked on Dead Space for EA, and Dead Space is not only one of my favourite franchises, but it's a very big fan favourite. It's a great game. If you haven't played it, you should definitely grab it. You can get it cheap. But a new the new police-themed Battlefield game is actually going under the codename of Havana. There's nothing known about it right now, but obviously with the police theme, it could be interesting. Could be like based in maybe New York City. I'm sure they'll do it or something like that. Maybe it'll be more of a on-rail shooter, or more of a gritty, realistic shooter versus, even though Battlefield 4 is gritty and realistic, but more realistic than that. Where if you're a police officer, you're not some soldier that's like virtually invincible like you are in Battlefield. And wrapping up the gaming news, to keep this podcast about 10 minutes, we're trying to keep them to about 10-15 minutes these with the podcast, just trying to keep them nice and tight, so you're not sitting here and listening to us or listening to me umming and ahhing the entire time. They will eventually go bigger, but as you can see behind me, I've got a confined office space in my house, but I'm moving soon. I'm going to have a whole half of an office for photo shoots and podcasts and video work. Once that happens, I'll be able to sit on a lounge and go through, like have a tablet in front of me and go through all of that. It'd be quite good. Polishing up our gaming podcast today, we have big news. just on a week ago now, Oculus VR, the company that are behind the virtual reality unit Rift, they've announced that they're co-publishing Eve Valkyrie. Eve is from CCP, CCP, and they're the guys that work on Eve Online, which is a massive space RPG. Now, it's big news considering that you've got John Carmack, which from id Software fame, so Doom and Quake and all that kind of stuff. He's stepped on as Chief Technology Officer last year, and now you've got a massive space sim that's coming out. And you've also got the new Crystal Cove prototype, which was being shown off with Eve Valkyrie. So we're most likely going to see, I'm guessing that we're going to see Eve Valkyrie given out as a killer app for Oculus Rift when the consumer version launches, or we will see it as maybe a cheap game that's launched alongside Oculus Rift and shown as, you know, maybe on the box it'll have an Oculus Rift sticker, I guess, and it'll say like this is built for Oculus Rift. So it'd be interesting to see what's happening there. CCP's Newcastle studio, which is based in the UK, they're the ones working on it. And the CEO of CCP said during his DICE 2014 talk, the core purpose of CCP is to make virtual worlds more meaningful than real life. And then in regards to the Oculus Rift, the CEO of CCP said, it is much easier for people to accept as reality. It is a much shorter leap of faith to fully accept that we really have the ability to create virtual worlds more meaningful than real life. So it's interesting to see where they're going to be going from here. Especially with VR being so big as it is. Thanks for checking in. This is another podcast for TweakTown, covering games. Check our tech podcast very soon.